special episode of 793.8, The Books of Magic. For your regular listeners, you will know one of the books that comes up top 10 of pretty much everyone's list is Tommy Wonder's The Books of Wonder. And there's an amazing new project that's come out to take some classic Tommy Wonder material and put it into the modern age. It's a video series called Modern Wonder. Two of our former guests are involved with that, and I'm delighted to have them here. This is Kayla Drescher. Hi, Kayla.
Hi, how are you?
Great. And Carisa, thanks for being here.
You are so welcome. So excited.
Tell us about Modern Wonder.
Modern Wonder came about because I'm a huge Tommy Wonder fan. I mean, Tommy Wonder, I think most magicians can say this as well, totally changed how I look at magic after reading and rereading the Books of Wonder, and not even necessarily the tricks. I never felt like I was good enough to perform the actual content in those books, but the theory and the thinking behind things. It just made you think so differently.
When Every Trick in the Book came out, there was some interest in modernizing old content.
Right.
And Penguin was very smart to realize, there were other books they could do that with, and they decided they were going to do the Tommy Wonder book.
And we threw our name into the hat to be able to participate in this. And the effects we ended up being, for lack of a better term, assigned, we're going to teach. One of the things that I found from rereading those books over and over again was that some of the effects are a little bit difficult to perform in 2021, card to cigarette and cigarette case, those sorts of things.
But Kayla, who is the most ambitious human, immediately jumped on and went, we could do that stuff. And she was the one that really pushed for this idea of, hey, the two of us together, we could take the stuff that Dan doesn't think is fit for a modern audience and we could modernize it.
The cigarette case is a good example. I am not a builder. Carisa is a great builder. I cannot build most things to say. I can function in power tools, but basic. So building a box out of acetate and all this stuff, that's not in my ability. And I believe it's not in the ability of most people. So we ended up pitching this idea of the Modern Wonder, which was taking not necessarily the classic Tommy Wonder, the 2 cups and all of that, but taking some routines that I just haven't really seen and try to put a little bit of an update from our perspective, from the perspective of what you can buy just at a craft store.
The advantage we had was that there were things in that book that utilized equipment that isn't made anymore, or could be now done with a method that didn't exist at the time because the new thing didn't exist at the time.
And then we also eliminated the use of mainly pockets or larger jackets or your belts or any of that. We tried to eliminate as much of the very gender specific costuming or props that you would need and tried to make this available for everybody.
We actually performed all this stuff. We put it into our regular repertoires with both of our characters to see if it worked.
So that's how the project came about, and we're pretty proud of it.
Even though it is maybe the hardest thing I've ever been part of.
So exciting that it's out.
What were some of the trickier ones to get this modern update to?
The cigarette case was the hardest one. We updated with just markers in a marker case that you would see, that you would buy for school. Yeah. And that was basically me taking a Dremel and dremeling out markers and trying to figure out the best way to fit cards in there. For the most part, basic sleights. That was kind of the focus. We wanted to make it for everybody to be able to perform, or most everybody to perform. So that was our main update with the cigarette case. If you don't like the markers in the marker case, you can also do whatever you want, but use our method in order to perform it with whatever object you're looking to perform 3 cards to 3 different locations.
Auto link was also really, really hard, which if you don't know is a way to get a Himber ring to effectively, like basically you have a pencil or mechanical pencil that helps facilitate the linking of a timber ring really cleanly. It's conceptually a great thing, and Tommy's really mechanical brain came up with this amazing thing. And I noticed that Dan had not done it, and so we put it on our list. It made sense for me to do it. I'm a little bit more buildy, and I spent probably $150 and 2 weeks of my life looking for this pencil. They don't make it anymore. Hilariously, I found a forum where they talk about vintage mechanical pencils, and was able to
Cool.
figure out, oh, you can buy them, but they're like $100 because they're vintage and they don't manufacture them anymore. So I had to take Tommy Wonder's concept and then buy a bunch of modern mechanical pencils and figure out, is there a way you can do what he was trying to do with a different mechanism? And the answer is yes, because there was the two steps there. There was the step of, oh, I will have to find this pencil and find like a new modern manufacturer who produces this thing. And then step 2 was, okay, be comfortable with the fact that they don't make those anymore and find an alternative, but still staying respectful and interested in the original and what they had been doing in the original.
In terms of the gender neutral, any general principles you found were helpful there?
Yeah, I mean, we've had to do that our whole careers. It's just trying to take a trick we learned from Tarbell or from someone else and be able to perform it ourselves in whatever we're wearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, ring watch wallet being shifted from a ring, a watch, and a wallet, which are things that would be more in keeping with a man's ensemble, became necklace, ring, earring, which, because that one we weren't so concerned about making quote unquote gender neutral, because basically we were just creating like a feminized alternative.
And so that was a really specific, you could argue as a specific gendered take on that trick. But we performed that at the Peller Theater at the Magic Castle from Wednesday to Sunday, 3 shows a night. And that was it was our opener, and that was what everybody kept talking about for weeks and weeks to come. So that one was really fun, and that's on there too.
Nice.
And then the other thing was we tried really hard to stick. For example, Elizabeth requires you to have a deck of cards in each pocket. Well, we women don't tend to have pockets, as you know, and 2 decks of cards in a purse basically, just for one trick, basically means you can no longer do anything else. And so because of new card designs, we were able to figure out a way to do that with 1 deck of cards. I did it in my walk-around repertoire in Chicago for 3 months.
So that actually came pretty easily to both of us. How do we carry our props, or how do we hide things without what you would normally use? And it wasn't even necessarily intentional. It just sort of happened because of who we are and our perspective on how we create magic for ourselves.
Were there any other of the classics that really got you excited that, oh, this one has not performed a lot, but now I want to do this all the time?
There are 2. We kind of each took tricks and then came together and presented what we had done. And so Carisa had done Through the Eye of the Needle, which I've seen only one person perform in my entire magic life. I don't even know if it ever made it to his actual show or repertoire. But other than that, I've never seen it outside of Tommy Wonder. So that one, and that is really cool. The update Carisa made on it was the ability to visually put the needle onto the thread without having to swap the needles. And so that was a really nice touch. So you do swap the needles for the end, but the visual penetration of a couple pieces of thread with the needle to start is a really beautiful addition to it. The one that I did that is my favorite, and one that I still perform, is the card to ring box. I didn't want it to be so specific to jewelry. And that was really important. And in the Books of Wonder, it is a ring box, but he also instructs you on how to make it. And I figured, oh, that's just not something most people are going to want to do. So here's a box you can buy at a craft store. You just add this one additional gimmicked element to it, and then you have a new trick. And it can be for rings. I did it in a show the other night on Zoom with rubber bands. So I said, like, this is my rubber band box. And I placed a rubber band in it after I was done performing, took one out of it, and then a card went to the box at the end. So lots of really fun stuff you can do with that. So that one is one of my favorites that I did.
A big part of the original Books of Wonder, separate from the effects, is Tommy's thinking.
Absolutely. So one of the original ideas that Kayla and I had was that we were going to, at the end of the second book, there's sort of an appendix on how to make stuff. And then it just became clear we were already going to have a 6-hour video. And there just was not going to be room to do like here's how to do basic woodworking. I love the idea of 2 women teaching these skill set, like teaching the basic skill set that is in the Tommy Wonder book, but we couldn't do that. So an alternative, a way to bring that in a generous way, was that we teach how to make your own hydrostatic glass. He shows you how to drill a hole in a glass, and that method would technically still work, but it's with materials that are a little harder to come by. Here's how to do it with a Dremel tool and a bucket of water.
There's some There are some principles, that general theory of make it so that the effect feels like it's unexplainable. Mm-hmm. I think that's what you can take from just folding a card into eighths if a card is folded into eighths. So there's no plausible explanation for a needle melting through a piece of thread right in front of your eyes. It's just not possible. So a lot of those, the kind of core of a theory, even though we might not have been able to use the specific thing he said, we were able to explain or use the core concept of those theories.
Anything else people should know about the project?
I think the most important thing to understand about this Modern Wonder project is you should take it and make it your own. So what we did was we took Tommy Wonder's work that might not have been able to be performed easily and give it an update. And then you can take our core idea and make it your own.
Kayla and I put so much love and time into it, and we worked so hard together on it. And it was mostly because we both just adore Tommy, and the opportunity to do this we took very, very seriously.
A lot of people are not happy that we would ever take on Tommy Wonder's work. That people are entitled to their opinion, and I think that's fine. My thought on that is we didn't say Tommy was bad. We didn't say Tommy was irrelevant. What we wanted to do was make it so that everything in his book was performable by everybody today.
And we recognize that in a lot of ways, we would be bringing this material to a new generation for the first time, because a lot of younger magicians don't read books as much. They're used to learning from videos. So it was really, really important that we not just best represented the material and added something and modernized it, but also built interest for maybe a younger generation to check the book out, because there's so much in that book that Dan didn't cover and we didn't cover. You know, even with those two projects, you could still open the book up and find miracles in there that you will fall in love with. And because Tommy was so versatile, everything in there, for the most part, is performable, at least in concept, if not in practice, because they don't make those things anymore.
And that's what we were trying to do. This was something that we felt was important, and it was important for us to do. So we're really happy with it.
Wonderful to be able to honor and celebrate his work today and see it out there more.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's the more people can do such genius work, the better. And just because it's not exactly how it was published doesn't mean it's still not genius.
Where can people obtain this work?
It's on Penguin Magic. So if you go to penguinmagic.com, just type in Modern Wonder and it'll pop right up.
Which is so easy because there's no way you don't already have an account. Everybody has an account. It is one of the things I'm the most proud of I've ever worked on. And it was just such a pleasure working with Kayla. Even on the days that we were both exhausted, it was just an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for sharing all this with us. And yeah, get it out there, people. Modern Wonder, Penguin Magic, Tommy Wonder, that you can do these days.